Welcome to Bunch Formation, your newest favorite college football show. I am Chris Vannini, and I am ranked higher than my co-host on a random Twitter account's list of top college football media personalities. How do you feel about that?
Must be nice, Chris. Must be nice. I'm David Ubben. I have a lot of questions about the integrity and methodology of an engagement bait ranking. Chris, did you pay a lobbyist? People are asking questions. I did find the list entertaining. We've seen some of this. It was big game boomer adjacent content, I suppose. I would like to see somebody actually put together a real list. Would be interesting because
We
any
just
list that
did.
doesn't
This
have
is it.
no, but any list that doesn't have Herb Street number one, it's kind of like Herb Street's clearly number one. The Feinbaum's probably top 3 or 5. When it's getting into random internet people that I have barely heard of, I'm okay, this is. But I will say one spot behind Tim Tebow for myself. So we're coming. We're coming.
This was the account PMT Stats, I guess just fan account for Pardon My Take. I was number 19. David, 46. We're expanding the playoff, and you're still not in it. I'm sorry.
46. Who would that be in college football? Who's number 46 on your Athletic 138, Chris?
Postseason, I had Penn State there at the end of the season, so right around in that range, Clemson range as well. But we're here to talk about. Oh, by the way, number 1 was Tom Fornelli. In case anybody wanted to know, we're here to preview real live football games. This might be the best week 0 slate we've ever had. And we're here to talk. We're here to talk about all 8 games from Ireland to Palo Alto in a game that includes Hawaii. We'll also explain what's new in college football this year, some things you may see during the games on Saturday, and we will react and explain this new ban on NFL players coming back to college football and what it all means. David, I think we should go live Saturday on the Bunch Formation YouTube to chat about the day that was. We got some late games. What are we thinking about 10 o'clock Eastern?
I like it. We'll probably get to watch along the end of Hawaii Stanford, which might be kind of spicy. Shout out to Micah Alahado. Memphis UNLV, we can watch a little bit of the early part. I think we gotta chat. I mean, TCU UNC, there's that's gonna be a take quake sort of game. And then NC State Virginia, a bit of a ball knowers game. I don't know that your casual fans are going to be that fired up about that game, but it has real impact, real stakes. We'll get into it more, but I like it, Chris. I like it. 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, we'll go for maybe half hour, maybe longer, see how it's going. But we will also have our normal week 0 recap show on next Monday. So we're getting back in the swing of things. If you want to watch that chat on Saturday night, follow the Bunch Formation YouTube page. Want to get to 900 before the season starts. We're at 885 last I checked. We are very close. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube yet, please do. It helps the show. It'd mean a lot. And more importantly, tell your friends about the show. As we get into the season, the numbers are going up. The season's here. Some people shouted us out on a Reddit thread for favorite college football podcast. Thanks to everybody who did that. It really means a lot. Yeah. And so for this episode, check out the show notes if you want to jump ahead. We'll have timestamps in there. Send mailbag. Remember some guys nominations, any sort of feedback, advertisements if you want, to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. And please leave us a 5-star review. We will read them on the show. And we got some new ones, David. I'll do one here from Chicken and Waffles 09 on Apple, who says, best college football show, much better than A&A. I'm going to tell Ari that.
I assume that they meant A&W, the root beer manufacturer turned fast food restaurateur. But I will say, Chris, we need to have a quick chicken and waffles discussion. As you know, I am passionate about, lots of things, but chicken and waffles among them. Chris, have you had the new Chick-fil-A chicken and waffles sandwich?
No, I like the two things individually. I'm not a big fan of putting them together, actually.
Okay, so the biggest issue, I think, with chicken and waffles is that there's a lot of execution stuff that can go wrong. When you're frying chicken, when you're making a waffle, I've had some of the best food is chicken and waffles and some barely edible stuff. The Chick-fil-A sandwich is very good. It came out this week. I think it's dropped on Monday. I went and got some day one. I was curious if this is going to be my new like Saturday morning college football thing. It's good. I would get it again. The syrup's not necessary. My waffle was a little too toasted, but I will say I think the biggest issue is that like Chick-fil-A, the bar is high. There's a lot of competition in the sandwich game, and I think ultimately like the Chick-fil-A sandwich and the chicken biscuit are still probably better. So you got to be like really in the mood for chicken and waffles to hit it, but maybe it'll tweak. It'll evolve a little bit as we go on. The bacon on there, very good. I don't usually get bacon on any of the Chick-fil-A stuff. It's good. I would recommend it. It's just not a game change like people were talking about it.
So we got a comment on the YouTube page on the episode where we did the College Football 27 review. Go back and listen to that a couple days ago if you haven't yet. But a comment here said, because you talked about wanting your tweets in the game, in the video game, in the game.
This has been my dream since I saw them on 2K, like, I don't know, a decade ago.
Yeah, back when Twitter, So David's, the comment is, David's tweets in the game should just all be food-related takes. Quote, really disappointing performance by A&M yesterday. Also disappointing the new Taco Bell Strawberry Cinnabon Delights. So you just
I will say the Cinnabon Delights at Taco Bell in general are not good. Cinnamon Twist is the move. The caramel apple empanada they keep teasing us with. That's the single greatest fast food dessert that's ever been created. But they brought it back on the menu. Then it leaves like 2 weeks later. Just, you know. But the Cinnabon Delights are trash.
Save it for the game. Save it for the big game. We also got an email and comments actually about my college football playoff bracket and a problem with it. And I think the listeners were correct. Listener Ryan emailed, I had Miami at number 1, Notre Dame at 3, BYU at 10. If BYU beats Notre Dame pretty much needs to beat Miami to be in, which would put Notre Dame ahead of Miami. So I'm going to rethink my bracket a little bit. I think maybe I'll come back next week with a more accurate one. So I appreciate the people who reached out about that.
Not necessarily. The committee has sent some conflicting messages about head-to-head matchups.
Well, not in the end they didn't, especially with those two. Yeah. So that's what that is. But that was a unusually long opening. Before we get into the games, we got a little bit of news to talk about. To do that, we go into the media scrum.
That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage.
NFL players are banned from coming back to college football. At least
same as it ever was.
At least that's the idea. We're going to keep this a little bit short because we want to talk about actual football. But the Big Ten on Tuesday banned NFL players from coming back. The SEC did the same, included men's and women's basketball as well. And that applies to anyone who signed a pro contract or was on an official roster, or any underclassmen who entered a draft and didn't withdraw in time. We're recording this early Wednesday. By the time you're listening, it's very possible or likely the Big 12 and the ACC have done the same or have done something similar. It's also possible that legal challenges may have already been filed about this or will be soon, claiming that the current restraining order rules should also apply to the conferences. Is that true? I don't know. I've seen some smart lawyers say no, that conferences can be separate, but we'll see. But the timing of this week was important because NFL Cut Day is Sunday. NFL Cut Day is Sunday. And the day that college football teams need to lock in their 105-man roster is the Friday before the first game. So a flood of players were likely or are likely to try to do this next week. So this is why this happened this week. David, any thoughts on the conferences basically making their own rules, since the NCAA rule in some cases, in some state cases, was basically kind of overruled?
I mean, I've been skeptical that we're going to see any of these guys actually take the field. Like watching Charles Bediako play an actual basketball game last year, I think it was last year, was like a surreal experience where it's like, this is insane. People don't like this. People don't want this. Everyone knows just instinctively this is something that should not be happening. I think the coaches know this as well, but the coaches have all this pressure to win. No, they do, Chris, they do. But they feel a pressure to win. And it's like, well, if we can exploit this advantage, then I feel like we have to. I think Lane Kiffin sort of basically said that. And but people know that this isn't right. I don't think the public will put up with this. It's just a little bit different in football where one player, especially these kind of guys who are like fringe NFL guys, that might be like rotational guys, are probably not going to make huge differences. Whereas like Charles Bediako, on a basketball court, a G leaguer could make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get all of the legal machinations, but this comes down to membership. The conferences can say whatever they want, but like the coaches don't have to take it. No court can make you play somebody. No court can make you add somebody to your roster.
Correct.
And so you can make it legal, but at the end of the day, the coaches are the ones that have to make the phone call. They have to say, hey, come practice. Here's your gear. Hey, our defense is going out on the field. My starting 11 is going to include a guy who was in freaking Bucks training camp a week ago that had 2 sacks in a preseason game. Don't do it. You don't need to do it. Like all these coaches want to talk about like, oh, college football is so meaningful. Oh, this is like the fabric of American society. And then you're going to like do things that cheapen the sport. Just don't do it. And I haven't wasted a lot of mental energy on this. We don't need to waste air on the show on this because I just don't think this is going to be, again, you mentioned on the last show, this isn't like a watershed moment. It's a bit of a one-off. But I'm skeptical that this is going to be in any way anything meaningful to the season. It just feels like something people are talking about because it's like objectively crazy, but the actual impact, and there's no games happening, obviously, but the actual impact, I haven't lost a lot of sleep about this.
Yeah, and so even with the league, we saw this kind of play out with the Sorsby thing, by the way. Like, this is what we kept saying about Texas Tech. Nobody is making you play Brendan Sorsby, even if a court says he can't. And the argument with Texas Tech argument was like, well, for his mental health or something, he has to play, which I don't know.
I mean, I think ultimately it's you got $4 million invested in this guy.
Yes.
So
the Bediako point, people forget about this. The NCAA won that case in the end. And it got overturned, and the Alabama Supreme Court upheld the overturning of it. I think people notice all the times the NCAA loses and doesn't notice that they actually do win a lot of, if not most of, these eligibility fights. And in fact, the big federal case about letting all the fifth-year players and all the sports come back, there's currently a stay on that in the federal court. The initial restraining order ruling was in favor, but then it got stayed. The hearings on that are going to be in September. And that brings it to my next point, which is even if there is a legal challenge in these state courts, the ones that are still able to go forward, I still wonder if conferences can just kind of run out the clock the way the Big 12 did with Sorsby. Because with Sorsby, there was an NFL supplemental draft deadline, and he ultimately left because he had to make a decision, and the NFL had this deadline. Now, in hindsight, he probably shouldn't have because the NFL ended up saying no. But conferences, you could file a federal case in a different state, argue over the jurisdiction, then it gets moved, do all these things to make it take longer to the point where coaches may just say, look, we're in week 2 or 3. These are rotational players that we're going to bring in. I've got my team. I don't want to deal with it. So I think it's very possible that happens.
The whole situation, I kind of hit on this. The only reason I think this is getting so much oxygen is because people who maybe aren't paying attention are like, wait, a guy's going from the NFL to college? It's like, wait, what?
It is crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And it is kind of a sexy story. But on the 30,000 foot view of like, this doesn't really matter. It's just very stupid. And so
it will matter more for basketball, which is why it's important. The SEC,
both in timing, but in like impact on the floor. Like if you bring like RJ Luis, like if he's going to play for LSU, which that's been all over the map, like that's a great player who can make a huge impact on like the SEC title race, the tournament. Will Wade has like 4 players right now, so he's maybe a little desperate. So like that's a real thing. Like adding, a rotational like Xavier Harris, Daquan Wright, Jack Pyburn, like these are not impact players. And even Thomas Castellanos,
even Thomas Castellanos, that's to be the backup quarterback.
That's an insurance policy. That's not not even really anything. That just keeps you from playing a Tulsa transfer quarterback. That's not a thing. So again, this whole thing I think is it's getting a lot of attention because people who haven't been paying attention look at it and are like, the world has turned upside down.
Yeah.
Everything's terrible. And it's like, well, actually, this is kind of a small case, and I don't think anything's going to actually happen.
It matters. I think it's not like Dan Orlovsky on TV was like, the floodgates are open. And it's like, no, it's not.
The floodgates are closed. We're good on the flooding. We're fine.
To the point where his colleague Dan Murphy had even say on Twitter, like, no, this only applies to the class of 2022 guys who used up their eligibility and want the 5th year. Everybody has a 5th year moving forward. That is what they argued, that the NCAA arbitrarily applied when to apply the 5th year. When the NCAA
which is true.
I'll explain this here. So the NCAA, when they lose these cases in court, it always often comes down to basically an arbitrary application of the rules. You're not consistent. Trinidad Chambliss should get a medical red shirt because of this or that. And which brings us to why the NCAA didn't grandfather these players in. They were going to have to make a cutoff point at some point, and somebody was not going to be happy about it. And in order to grandfather the athletes in, they would then have to suspend essentially suspend the roster limits that they just agreed to in the House settlement, which would make everything more costly. And I don't even mean NIL toward players or rev share. I mean the cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of travel, equipment, all these things. And schools that have more money would have even more of an advantage. And it would essentially wipe out a big chunk of spots for the incoming freshman class, the same way the COVID waiver did in 2020. So somebody was not going to be happy about this, no matter what happened. Now, yes, does it help their case to Congress of, hey, Congress, look, see, we need help? Yes, but they were also hoping to have that done by now. Like this, they didn't specifically delay it till now to do it for that reason, because that's still a bank shot to hope that happens. They had to get it in because classes start in the fall. Like, why don't you do this in October? Well, you got to like line this up when kids are coming into school.
As much as people want to pretend it's not, college sports are still tied to the academic calendar.
Look, what did Marcus Freeman say when he was asked about bringing the 5th year guys? He said, look, we can't, like, grad admissions are already like closed. We can't do that. And so, and they knew they were going to get sued on this. They believe it's worth the fights where a few dozen impactful players maybe make it through, rather than the administrative burden and cost of having tens of thousands of athletes back, not just your football players, your rowers, your volleyball players, this and that. That's a large undertaking for athletic departments that don't have any money anymore because they have to pay the football and basketball players. So ultimately, I'm okay with that. The class of 2022 kids signed up for 4 years of playing. They got 4 years of playing. And it is what it is at this point. Do I feel bad they didn't get it? Yes. But it's not some great injustice, I don't think, even if some courts do. So
no,
that's it on the 5th year players. And went a bit longer than we wanted to. Just wanted to lay it out for everybody, what it is, why it's the case. That's that. Let's talk about actual football. David, Tennessee this week decided to go with Faizon Brandon as its starting quarterback. That's the name we kind of all was leaning that way would win the job. But someone who knows the program well, what do you think of him?
I wouldn't call it hype, just a lot of positive buzz around him. And part of that, I think, is being a true freshman. Like, obviously, he's going to be flawed coming out. But this is a system that is very quarterback friendly. In Tennessee's offense, there's a lot of half-field reads. You're going to see a lot of deep choice stuff. You're going to have a lot of support in the running game. The offensive line is really good. Deshaun Bishop coming back. A really good situation for him to step into. Beats out George McIntyre. George McIntyre, I think, is a good player. Faizon Brandon, I think, just more physically gifted, a bigger upside. This is a guy who's the number 3 overall prospect in this year's class. Enrolled early, like a lot of these guys do. So he went through spring. It's been there a while. And there's gonna, people make a lot out of a little. But I think that there's a fanatical work ethic piece of this, especially freshman year. Yeah, is like, when the team's breaking. I think he said he hadn't been home since like spring break, and he only lives in Greensboro. That's like 4.5 hours away. The team was breaking, and he's sticking around, and I think that's gotten a lot of play, like locally. And it might be overstated, but it does speak to a mindset of like where his head's at. And I think he specifically, because remember, he got there in January. The Joey Aguilar fight was still happening in February going into preseason camp. And he basically said this week, like, once we knew that Joey wasn't going to be able to come back. And then, of course, the portal stuff was kind of before that. But you miss on a portal QB. Joey Aguilar can't come back. And he's like, I saw the window for me, and I kind of put pedal to the metal. Again, that's what you want to hear. That's the mindset you want to hear. And, if you can combine great measurables, great talent, and that work ethic mindset, like, the sky's the limit for him. So I'm excited to see him. They'll kick it off against Furman and then Georgia Tech, Chris, which is noteworthy for another reason, for another story in Tennessee this week.
Yeah. Linebacker Arian Carter, who had been suspended for 2 games for signing with an agent and taking a flight, that suspension was reduced from 2 games to 1 game, meaning he will miss the meaningless Furman game and play against Georgia Tech. So essentially, no suspension, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Danny White that it's very stupid, especially, again, what did we spend the first
the
15 minutes of the show talking about?
So Arian Carter was suspended by the NCAA for signing with an agent, a $427 flight. He was planning to go pro, and then didn't, and decided to come back. They
found some really bad turf toe that he needed surgery to repair, basically.
Yeah, so the flight was paid for by his agent. The NCAA rules are, as we just said, you sign with an agent, you sign these things, you can't come back. So he decides to come back. NCAA wants to suspend him. I think it was going to be 4 games. Or it was going to be more.
The rule is permanent, and then they suspended him 3 games as like a.
It was 4, 3 or 4.
Gesture.
Yeah,
there's 3, and then that went through the Tennessee appealed. They got it reduced to 2 games, but that comes up for a road game at Georgia Tech, which they were not happy about. And then I think it's just like, again, in the current model, I do agree. Tennessee has been out front, very critical of the decision. It doesn't make sense. It is, I agree, archaic, outdated. The 1 game is very silly, but at least it doesn't affect Tennessee's season. Like, this is not something that somebody should have to sit out for. So,
well, I mean, yes, you don't want all these kids like kind of deciding to go pro, signing with these pro agents, which is different than an NIL agent or whatever.
Which, again,
having stuff paid, which
also
I get that there was a line, because this is the line they need to hold, and ultimately, like, a permanent suspension, I understand, wouldn't have been a good thing, but we get to a place they don't want any of those other guys we just mentioned to come back either. So that they do need to be consistent on that. But
it should be noted, by the way, he pulled out before the deadline to withdraw from the draft.
Yes. All right, that is it for the off-field stuff. We have actual on-field football to talk about. And to that, we go into the picks.
This is for all the Tostitos.
Well, actually, before we get into the picks, what is new in college football this year? Some things you'll see on the field, on TV, in the postseason. I'm going to lay out a couple of things. And David, if you have any thoughts on them, we can discuss.
Did they change all the controls for defensive adjustments?
Yeah, it's all stick-based now with the right stick. I'm still getting that muscle memory down. First thing, as we mentioned, 5 years of eligibility. No more red shirts. No more medical waivers. That's it. Everybody gets 5 years. That's it. Beginning either when you enroll in college or when you turn 19 years old, whichever is earlier. That means a lot of the guys who were going into this season to be seniors can actually come back next year too. So keep that in mind when you look at rosters and all this stuff. And I think the way it's going to be phrased on the graphics is freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate. I think that is what the communications departments have asked that be the official part of the Chiron.
I'm gonna need to see the degree to see that GR by your name.
I did talk to somebody at a school who did say maybe the Chirons aren't fully updated yet or something. So, but just keep that in mind. If you see senior on a player's thing on TV, it probably doesn't mean it's actually his last year. So,
well, I mean, but unless it is that. Again, we've already had a lot of senior day talk on the show the last month, but like that'll be interesting. It's always kind of been a little bit with COVID years has kind of factored some of this in, but now especially like seniors, you're going to have some interesting like telegraphed decisions ahead of time on senior day. So we'll see.
Also new, jersey patches. We've got sponsors on the jerseys of a lot of college football teams. Plus, in the Big 12, you have the Big 12 Monster Energy patch. We'll see that with TCU in the very first game. Hawaii plays. They just the other day, I think yesterday, added Hawaiian Airlines as their jersey sponsor, which I think is fine. That's one that makes sense.
Have you ever flown Hawaiian Airlines, Chris?
I've only been to Hawaii once. It was in high school. I don't remember the airline. It probably wasn't.
I've flown Hawaii Airlines a few times in my life. Did some island hopping when I was in like junior high, and then my wife and I went right after COVID. Yeah, not during COVID. Hey, not during, but like right after. Basically, like once vaccines were readily available and travel was a little bit more, it was like we got to get out of the house. We got to get out of here. We also didn't have kids at the time, but
we're talking jersey patches here. We don't need a side quest into your adventures on the island.
We do, but I will say we had to. That was an interesting travel because you had to get a state issued. Like Hawaii was pretty tight. You had to get a state issued COVID test, which was like $350 a piece to go from one island to another. So we didn't do a lot of hopping. We just went to one extra island. But
great.
Shout out to Hawaiian Airlines.
Sure. Hawaii, beautiful place. Anyway, jersey patches. Some of them are gross. I think the Notre Dame one looks terrible. The big white patch with the SoFi on there. Don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State's like the Michigan State Credit Union. So it's already green and white. So it doesn't look as bad. I'm going to hate all of these. I understand why the schools need to do it. I understand that all the pro sports do it now. I hate it. I don't like it. Will I get used to it? Yes, but I don't like it. There's that.
Yeah,
we got.
I will say the bigger than the jersey patches, Chris. And I don't know what these are going to look like. The Big 12 they're doing the monster thing on the field as well, right?
Yes, but I don't know if it's on the Ireland.
The ones I've seen of the basketball court look horrific. The jersey patches is kind of whatever, but the basketball ones.
It looks like it's just like a rectangle with the M for the monster and then the Big 12 logo, and that's it.
It's bad.
So
it's
I don't know. We'll see how it looks. Realignment. We already talked about that. Go back to the Group of 6 preview episode if you want to check. But the Pac-12 is back. Bunch of Mountain West schools. They added Gonzaga as well. No realignment in the Power 4, but update your records on G6 realignment because David has no idea who's on Conference USA anymore. Mm-hmm. A rule change this year: targeting penalties will not carry over to the next game. They have removed that part of the penalty. You're just ejected for the game. Now, if you're a repeat offender, then the penalties stack up very quickly. You might miss the whole next game potentially. But the reason they did this is that there is very few, if any, repeat offenders. Guys are understanding and getting the message. And so they felt that they could lessen that part of it, which I think is a good.
Chris, after four targetings, the guy that you targeted gets a free shot at you. I believe. I think that's right.
That should be how it is. But it's notable because remember we had the guy from Miami missed the first half of the Indiana National Championship game because he got the targeting late against Ole Miss. So now does not carry over. That is a change. Also, this is the last week 0 ever, like officially, because beginning next year, everybody will be allowed to play the week before Labor Day weekend. That is because the last 2 years, based on where Labor Day and New Year's fall in the schedule, everybody got 2 bye weeks. And back now this year, we're back to 1 bye week. And the schedulers don't like that. And so they like having 14 weeks to play 12 games. And so beginning next year, everybody can play from week 0 up to Thanksgiving. 14 weeks. You'll have 2 byes. So next year, it may be more of a fuller slate type of thing. So this is kind of the last week 0, the way we know it. I believe we're just going to call it week 1 moving forward. I think it wouldn't really make sense to say week 0 anymore. But
yeah, nobody really. The numbers make sense on the front end. Like it needs to be called week 0 because calling next week 2 would be weird. But nobody cares about the numbers on the back end. And like the last week's just rivalry week anyway. By the time we get to like week 9, I don't know what week 9 is. I never know what the numbers are. It doesn't really matter. But for the first month, we do need the numbers.
Yes. Also, relative, so that's what's new in college football, and relative to you and me here with the picks, which we can actually, I think, get into now. Let me do this again.
This is for all the Tostitos.
I still need to pay off last year's bet, which was DoorDash food from one restaurant to another restaurant. I wanted to do that with you in person.
Yeah, Vegas is a tough spot to do that.
But the only place we've been in person was in Las Vegas, and that wasn't really a good place to do that. So I will try to do that here. I'll probably go to one of my local fast food places, like Whataburger. I'll go to like McDonald's, get the Whataburger to come down the street or something like that. I do need to pay that off. But for year 2, again, we will ask the listeners here, what should the loser picks bet, the picks bet loser, have to do? Email us at bunchformationpod@gmail.com with your ideas. We will discuss and figure out something. So please,
anything jump out to you, Chris, off the dome?
Not yet. We had some good suggestions like during last season, but we'd already made a determination. I don't remember what it was. If anybody remembers, email us. Let us know. Okay.
I don't recall. I did suggest David Hale and Andrea Adelson at the ACC Network, friends of the show. They
have not been on the show. They're not friends of the show.
They're friends of the show. Last year, Andrea had to go skydiving. They were looking for a punishment, but I did suggest that the loser of their picks bet has to drive from BC to Stanford. I was proud of that suggestion.
They could get ESPN to pay for that one, though.
That's the hook with all this, is that's ESPN sponsored content that they could make content out of. We are
because that was when David Hale did the spend like 24 hours in a Buc-ee's.
24 hours in Buc-ee's. Great.
That was a good one. I could do that one. I've got
punishments.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, if anybody has some fun ideas, let us know. Email us.
Yes.
And with that, we're actually finally now going to talk about the freaking games here. Okay. North Carolina against TCU in Dublin, Ireland.
That's not great. I'm not going to try, but it's not good.
What isn't good? My accent there?
Accent. Very bad.
I thought it was pretty good. Shout out to our Irish friend. He was on the show last year. I saw him at the national championship game. Connor, great dude. North Carolina, TCU, Ireland. TCU, a 7.5-point favorite. This game is at noon Eastern on ESPN. I still think about, and unfortunately for you, David, not going to 7 games in 6 days or whatever that was. Like
6 games in 5 days. That was
6
tough.
and 5. And you went to this game, right? Was the end
I
of
did.
The trip.
This was the very last game of week 1 last year.
Do you remember the feeling? What was the feeling like in that stadium when North Carolina in the very wait? Let me say it.
Go ahead.
North Carolina in the very first drive goes right down the field and scores a touchdown on TCU. Michael Jordan's there. Lawrence Taylor's there. We're all like, holy cow, Bill Belichick's here. And then they lose by almost 40 points and the season was a mess. But what was the feeling like in that moment when you were there?
It was kind of the culmination of, you could feel the energy on campus. Like, again, I went to 6 games in 5 days. A lot of them were neutral site games, but the vibe in Chapel Hill was like unbelievable. Like, Franklin Street was packed. Fans were fired up. I didn't go to the Chase Rice concert. I don't think I couldn't make it through that. But but like, that was full. People were very excited. And then like just the euphoria of like, oh my gosh, this might have been the greatest thing that it is still the high watermark of the Bill Belichick era. I will say the energy was cool. The fireworks were going off. The sideline was like exploding. I will say in my head, I was like, this doesn't bode well for TCU. That was kind of where I was. Cause I was like, I know what UNC has personnel wise. I was like, this is not a great roster. TCU was still a little bit of an unknown entity at the time. They're a little bit more known now, slightly, certainly replacing a lot, but, UNC has not demonstrably upgraded their roster. I'd say it's about the same roster they had a year ago. Not a lot of impact added, not a ton. Lost, the quarterback spot, we'll see. I do like adding Bobby Petrino. As funny as that combo is, it's a good pickup. Like, Bobby Petrino can call some ball plays. So, yeah.
So 7.5 is kind of closer than I would have thought, given how last year's game went. But there is a good amount of change on both sides. With TCU, You had new offensive coordinator Gordon Samus, comes from UConn, expected to run more of a pro style type of attack. I do think TCU is going to try to run the ball a lot more. And can they run the ball better? That's one of my biggest questions I want to see with TCU. Can you run the ball the way you want to run the ball and not just be slinging it around?
They did have a lot of trouble against UNC last year, but
they didn't.
As the season went on, it was not great.
The new quarterback, Jaden Craig, comes over from Harvard. I visited TCU practice last week. They love this guy. Biggest thing, not turning the ball over. Sonny Dykes said
it should be noted, Chris, not just a TCU thing, like the football people, like he was like for the schools, I don't want to call it bargain bin shopping, but just for the schools that like weren't going to break the bank for a quarterback, like people were like, this kid from Harvard, like people love this guy.
He's big, good arm, takes care of the ball. That's exactly what TCU wanted. And in camp, was told that he only had 2 turnovers. Both of them were on tipped balls. So they like it. That was a problem last year, as we know, has been said with Josh Hoover turning the ball over. But a big part of that is I just think they're going to be running the ball more and run the ball, take care of the ball, hit the plays that are there. The over-under of this game is 47.5. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game.
I agree.
In part because I think North Carolina is going to be running the ball a bit more too. They've got
I think that's going to be their strength.
Yeah, they got a big offensive line. Billy Edwards is not really a guy you want to sling it around a ton. And so my biggest question with them is, do they have any life on offense with Bobby Petrino? Whatever you think of the roster, I mean, we know what we think of the roster. Bobby Petrino knows how to coach offense. Very good off. I thought that was a great hire by Bill Belichick. We saw what he was able to do at Arkansas last year. Not a good team. He was still able to put up points.
Good offense. I think the biggest difference, though, Chris, is Taylon Green's a great player. Mike Washington might steal a good chunk of carries from Ashton Genty this year. He had the pieces. I don't see the pieces for this team. I do like Damon June. He's got some pop to him. Like their line, we'll see. But the skill position talent, I mean, it's not good. Like Jordan Shipp led the team. Jordan Shipp, an okay player, but it's not great skill position talent. Certainly much worse than what Bobby was working with at Arkansas the last few years.
Defensively, Steve Belichick. I'll say defensively, North Carolina did get a lot better defensively last year to where the end of the year, they were a very respectable unit. And they finished in the middle of the country in a lot of defensive stats. And considering how bad they were to start, TCU Clemson game, it was a clear improvement. Now, Steve Belichick is not there right now. He's on a medical leave, the defensive coordinator. Now, what impact is that going to have on that group? I'm not sure. It's been a couple of weeks, so it's not like this just happened and they're scrambling. So we'll see what that plan is. I imagine Bill will be involved more on the defensive side.
Sounds like he's probably going to call. They've been really dodgy about what exactly things have looked like. You won't believe this, Chris. I know you won't believe this, but when they've asked Bill Belichick kind of about this, he's kind of just been like, all right, stack of days, get better every day. It's like, okay, all right. Well, we'll see how many days they've stacked this offseason, I guess. Time will tell. I think the expectation is that USC is going to get their face shoved in the dirt in this game. I'm not I can see it. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be an ugly game. Not one other beatdown, but just like a slugfest.
One other factor too, it may be raining during this game. All morning on Saturday, it's about a 35% chance of rain. Temperature is going to be in the mid 60s. Humidity's high. So there's a chance rain, again, leans into running the ball a bit more. But I'm, again, like you said, going to have so many thoughts on this game as it's going on. After it happens, just remember, people, don't tweet something after the first drive that you'll come back, realize you got retweeted by Freezing Cold Takes or something like that.
You might end up in the new Freezing Cold Takes book, which, by the way, Fred sent me a copy of the book. It is very entertaining.
I'm in it.
He is in it. Which
someone sent
you take umbrage with it, Chris.
I do. Someone sent me a screenshot of me being in it, and it was about after I think 2020, when Texas A&M won the Orange Bowl, I think it was.
Yes, it was the COVID year. They were 9-1, and they were knocking on the door of the playoff.
And there were some other people who were like, Jimbo Fisher's got it rolling, or this is why Texas A&M gave him all the money, blah, blah, blah. I said, coming off of a top 5 finish, got a number 1 recruiting class coming in, there's a lot of momentum here for Texas A&M, which was true. That's not a take. That's an observation of the situation. I maintain it was not a take. Anyway, this game, TCU 7.5. What are you taking?
I can't in good faith take North Carolina. Like, I do kind of think TCU wins this thing. I think it could be like a 13-10 at half, and then TCU ends up winning like 31-13 sort of situation. Like, I think that's kind of where I feel like it's going to go. Just because this game's always weird, though. Like, the field conditions always kind of weird. You mentioned the rain. Like, anytime you're playing on soccer fields, like, the cleat situation can get a little bit hairy. I don't really understand we need to get a turf management guy on here to explain the difference between football fields and soccer turf, because anytime I'm watching like those international NFL games, people are slipping all over the place, tearing the turf up. But anyway, my gut just says TCU. I think TCU might be really, really good. I really do like Gordon Samus, Jaden Craig. There's a lot of excitement and pieces coming out that I really like at TCU, and UNC, like, juiceless. I don't even know that begins to describe the situation at UNC, but just like you look at what they have, it's like, okay, like Petrino's kind of the only thing that you really like that's moving in a positive direction. You didn't really add a lot of big pieces. Don't really think Billy Edwards is a great player that's going to help you. I feel like if you had utilized more of the quarterback run game with Gio Lopez last year, your offense could have had a fighting chance, but Freddie Kitchens was not doing that. So I'm going to go TCU here. I like them pretty solidly to win and cover. There's a world in which North Carolina mucks this up, or Petrino is scheming up some nice ball plays and getting guys open. But give me TCU.
Yeah, TCU folks are a little bit worried about Petrino. Like, they know he's
good.
They know he's going to come up with something, and they're going to have to make adjustments as that happens. One thing I forgot to mention about TCU, their projected starting safety, I had this in the last episode, but Jacob Fields, Defensive Player of the Year, Conference USA at Louisiana Tech, transferred in. He has been booted from the team because of an altercation with a teammate in the locker room. So he's gone. He was the guy who was going to replace Bud Clark, who's in the NFL. So that's
who also got hurt, by the way. Sad. Bud Clark, legend, great player.
So that's another just thing to watch with the TCU defense. But I like the pieces at TCU. I like how much emphasis they've had on winning in the trenches compared to the previous years. And if Jaden Craig can take care of the ball, which I think he can, avoid that. They just have more talent. I'm going to go TCU wins and covers as well. The next game on the schedule, San Jose State at USC, 3:00 Eastern, NBC. That's a noon kickoff out west. USC favored by 38.5 points. Don't need to go too deep into this one. I think with my thoughts on USC are, what does Gary Patterson's defense look like? Gary Patterson, former longtime TCU coach, is the new defensive coordinator at USC. What does that look like? Because USC has a very good team. Lincoln Riley says that this is his best team. Jaden Mayavi at quarterback, good pieces, but they got a really tough schedule. And so how does that defense look week 1? San Jose State, they'll be starting Luke Weaver, a Hawaii transfer quarterback. Not expecting, a great game here, but seeing Gary Patterson out there, presumably running the 3-3-5 again, could be fun.
I think so. I think that this game, even when you're talking about games that have a big spread like this, believe what your eyes show you, because these two teams played in week 0 in 2023. And I remember sitting on, not this show, a different show.
I remember going to Ari's house and having to make an account with like Fubo to get the Pac-12 network to watch this.
Oh yeah, that game was on Pac-12 network. I think I watched that on a definitely legal stream, actually. Not to incriminate myself, but the USC couldn't block him, and I was like, Caleb Williams is running for his life, like immediately. And guess what, Chris? That was a problem like all year long. USC's offensive line was not good, and Caleb Williams had to be Superman every single week. This was coming off of the Heisman, which, by the way, talking about death of the Pac-12, Heisman winner makes his debut, and you got to watch an illegal stream to watch it. Issues. Anyway, so even in a game like this, where it's like, oh, it doesn't like watch them. I have USC in the playoff. I want to see what they're doing. You can fix things, but when you see flaws, when stuff is like systematically coming up, believe what your eyes show you. I'll be watching this game, and I think if the defense is leaky or you can't tackle, maybe you fix that, or maybe that's a fatal flaw. Believe what your eyes show you. I'm gonna take San Jose State to keep this close. I think we'll see. I suspect they might be a little sluggish out of the gate. We'll see. Plus, Chris, I know you and I are both big fans of Ken Niumatalolo. I like him to scheme some stuff up to keep this thing kind of competitive. So give me San Jose State. That's a lot of points.
Well, the interesting thing is too, like they throw the ball a ton. Craig Stutzman's the offense coordinator. They're kind of running the old run and shoot type of offense. But it didn't really work as well last year. Walter Egan was hurt. They've lost Danny Scudero, kind of resetting a lot. They didn't make a bowl game last year. They did and were pretty good 2 years ago. But it's a lot of turnover. I'm going to go USC just at home. But if it's not, I could see San Jose State like surprising us a bit. So we'll see. Next game going on almost simultaneously. The other kind of biggest one of the weekend, NC State at Virginia, 3:30 Eastern, ESPN. This game was originally supposed to be in Brazil. It got moved late to Charlottesville for a few reasons. And it is not an ACC conference game. This is a
No, it is. It is.
This one is.
Game.
Okay,
they
last
changed.
Year's was not.
Last year it was not.
Right.
I found this out like 2 weeks ago. Welcome to college football. When the ACC went to 9 games, this was supposed to be a non-conference game. And then I don't know if it was part. I have to assume the schedule maker was like, well, this one's already on the schedule. So
it was grandfathered
conference game. So it is a conference game.
Yes.
It was supposed to be in Brazil. It's not, which everyone involved is very happy to not go to Rio. Some of the stories you were hearing about prepping to go to Rio, people were not fired up about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is a conference game. It's gonna be a great football game. These are two like if you pay attention to college football, these are two really, really good football teams. Virginia has paid. Their investment is up. I don't know that they're going to contend for the ACC again, but I will say, Chris, this feels a little bit like a wrong team favorite game. I do like Bo Prabula. They are on the road. NC State, man. I like NC State this year. I'm buying NC State. I think NC State wins this game outright.
Oh, well, you made your pick before we even kind of ran through the preview here. But
we can explain it.
Virginia, Bo Prabula, as you said, Missouri transfer is at quarterback. They paid up to get him. They like him. They have a very good offensive line, a ton coming back. Based on the data you and Sam Kahn put together at The Athletic, the most experienced team in the country in terms of, I think it was returning snaps, I think was the number. So they've got a lot of experience there, although they do have some new pieces. Defense brings back a ton. They obviously played for the ACC championship last year. They also lost to NC State last year in what was a non-conference game. So there was that. NC State, they brought back CJ Bailey. They kept him when a lot of teams were trying to get him, but they did lose a lot of other talented players around him at running back, offensive line. They brought in a lot of his old high school friends from Miami around him. They got the running back Duke Scott. Yeah, they got running back Duke Scott, good player.
Jojo Trader.
Jojo Trader is one of the guys they brought in. Very interesting game. Of all the games, this game has the biggest stakes of any game on the weekend. Mm-hmm. You've made your pick. Why'd you go NC State winning outright?
Experience at quarterback. I think they, I wrote about this week. at the Athletic. I don't know if it'll be up yet, but when you look at this team and what has kept them from breaking through, it's a lot of once. Like some years the offense is great, some years the defense is great. They haven't been able to really be good at the same time, really hardly ever under Dave Doran. They feel pretty good about both sides of the ball here. Obviously, they lost some pieces on offense, but they paid to keep CJ Bailey. And there's not a lot of 3-year starters at quarterback. It seems like all of them are in the ACC, but like there's not a lot in the sport. CJ Bailey's one of them, and they really believe in him, love him as a player. I think that continuity helps keeping people around. I think NC State really underrated coming into the season.
Is it continuity, though, when all the other pieces are around him? And I know they're his friends from high school, but he also hasn't played with them for like several years.
Well, but it's a lot of retention on the line. Like, Jacarius Peak, I was talking to their – well, that's what I'm saying. I was talking to their offensive line coach, Garrett Touche, this spring. And he was like, you can't retain everybody, obviously. But other than Jacarius Peak, who they lost to South Carolina, who was promptly hurt, and we'll see what his availability looks like. He's like, we've kept almost all of our offensive linemen like in the portal era. The biggest thing is they've had headline making receivers that they lost. They lost Noah Rogers. Forget the name of the receiver they lost this year. Obviously, Casey Concepcion leaves, becomes a first-round pick. But at the end of the day, like these are budget decisions that they have to make. Like, if you're going to spend big money to keep a receiver and undercut the ability on your offensive line, like that's something Dave Doran doesn't believe in. Like they're having to make tough decisions, but it's not like willy-nilly. It's philosophical. They want to build this thing on the lines. Nobody wants to talk about the Moneyball approach. That's not what this is, but it's like we have limited funds. We have to decide where we're going to spend it. And they spend it on the lines and the quarterback. I like those decisions. I think it'll pay off for them. And I think they found weapons around CJ Bailey. And if you scheme stuff up, like if your line's good, suddenly your skill position people look a lot better. And great skill position people can be marginalized by bad lines.
Well, that's the thing about Virginia, too, is that I think they have a really, really good offensive line. So that could be interesting. By the way, Garrett Touche, the offensive line coach at NC State, I mean this respectfully, but tell me if you agree. He kind of looks like Thanos.
He's a huge guy. Yes.
Huge guy.
Yes.
Long face. It kind of looks like Thanos, like in a cool
Very
way.
much. I buy it. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Virginia to win, but NC State to cover. I think Virginia wins this by like 3-4 points, maybe like a 24-21 type of thing. Because I do think it's going to be close. 5.5 is a lot. I'll go Virginia straight up, NC State to cover. Big game there. Elsewhere, in the group of 6, not long ago, this was a FCS game, but Jacksonville State.
Did these two ever meet in the championship game?
Look it up while I'm talking. I don't know.
Okay.
Jacksonville State at North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome, 5:30 Eastern, CBS Sports Network. North Dakota State's a 7-point favorite. And North Dakota State, first year moving up to the FBS. They are in the Mountain West. Jacksonville State entering its 3rd year in FBS, I think. Coming up from, they're in Conference USA. So North Dakota State, we've seen them many times upset FBS teams. Iowa, I think Minnesota might have been in there once. Like we know what they do, but this is a North Dakota State team with a lot of turnover. Last year's team could have been maybe one of the best they ever had. They got upset in the playoffs. If this was last year's team this year, I'd feel a little bit differently about them. They got Nathan Hayes taking over at quarterback. He's a senior. He's been a backup for a while. What does he look like? We'll see. On the Jacksonville State side, they've lost Cam Cook, the leading rusher in the country. Caden Creel is back at quarterback for second-year coach Charles Kelly. How much are they going to run the ball? How much are they going to rely on Caden Creel? Otherwise, a lot of turnover on this roster, as is normal in the G6. But really, really interesting game. The Conference USA folks are really pulling for Jack State in this one to like set the tone early. This is one of those big group of 6 conference versus conference games we've got early in the season.
Chris, they did meet in 2015. Guess who won?
North Dakota State.
Yeah, they did 37-10, but they did meet in 2015. I'm excited, Chris. I'm glad that we're getting 2 FBS debuts in week 0. We'll talk about the other one here in a second. But I'm glad that we're getting like as much of a spotlight as you kind of can. Like, I'm glad that we're going to get to watch these teams because it's a proud moment for these universities, and I'm excited to watch it. I guess I'm going to just go with North Dakota State here out of reputation. It seems like they rise to the moment when they need to. So I'm excited to watch this. Excited to watch this moment. This is in the Fargo Dome, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I'm going with them as well for that reason because it's at home. Curious what I imagine probably got to be a packed crowd for the first FBS game because that was one of the things when I wrote stories about why North Dakota State hadn't moved up and why they were considering it. Like, the fans had just kind of gotten bored of winning national championships every single year to the point where some playoff games were not selling out ticket-wise. Now, Jacksonville State's not the team you got excited for with the move to FBS because they were just an FCS team. But national television, CBS Sports Network,
it's a new era.
I think it's going to be a good environment. I'm going to go with the Bison as well. But don't sleep on Jack State. They were first place in Conference USA last year. They have been one of the best teams in that conference since they moved up.
Charles Kelly did a great job last year.
He did, but now you lose Kemp Cook. So we will see. Elsewhere in the group of 6, Sacramento State at Eastern Michigan. This is another FBS debut team in Sac State. This is also a conference game because Sacramento State is in the MAC for some reason. Eastern Michigan, a 10-point favorite. This game's at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Plus. And this is where I will note, and I'll probably do it more early in the season. If you have YouTube TV, your account gives you access to ESPN Plus now. You have to go to the settings in the YouTube TV app, like sync it with ESPN, and then log into ESPN with your YouTube TV provider. That will give you ESPN Plus access because you have the ESPN Unlimited app. You get access to that now. So you don't have to pay for ESPN Plus separately if you have YouTube TV. So
can you watch ESPN Plus in the YouTube TV?
No.
Okay, that's
not on TV. Not on TV. Your computer. You have to go to the ESPN app to watch it there. They may integrate it at some point.
See, when I watch ESPN Plus games, I use Hulu because the ESPN app is terrible. It's badly designed. The login doesn't mess up.
Yeah.
Hulu works perfectly. So when I watch ESPN Plus stuff, like I have it logged into my Hulu, I just watch it through the Hulu interface because it's way, way better.
There you go. That could work as well. But yeah, that's a big thing for us. For those of us who watch a lot of the group of 6, you don't need to pay for ESPN Plus if you have YouTube TV as your TV provider. As for the game, Eastern Michigan has a ton of experience back. One of the most experienced teams in the country coming back. Didn't make a bowl game last year. They've kind of dipped the last couple of years after Chris Creighton was taking them regularly to bowl games. Noah Kim is back at quarterback. Sacramento State will be starting Fresno State transfer Carson Conklin. They have a new coach as well, Alonzo Carter, who came from Arizona and San Jose State before that, former head coach at Contra Costa College, a junior college, I think, out there in the Bay Area. Good dude, Alonzo Carter. Known him for a while. Sac State last year also, they were 7-5 in FCS. So they were up several years ago in FCS, the top 10 team under Troy Taylor. Then dipped, then got back up a little bit last year. Now they have a lot of turnover. I don't know what to make of Sac State yet. A lot of the G6 teams you're just not going to know because there's so much turnover here. But they got to go from Sacramento to Eastern Michigan for a conference game. David, what's your pick?
Better to do it in August than November, Chris. I mean, they'll have to do it in November eventually. But big fan of Alonzo Carter, famously former MC Hammer backup dancer in the on the tour in the You Can't Touch This video, I believe, also.
Yep.
But yeah, Brennan Marion out, Alonzo Carter in. We'll see what these two are, but give me Sac State to keep this thing close.
Yeah, I mean, like 10 points in week 0. That's a lot of points to give Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. And it's not like Ypsilanti is going to be like a hornet's nest, to borrow.
It's the factory. What are you talking about? They're going to be playing on the gray turf. They got the cinder blocks that they break when they take the field.
The cinder blocks, low key, are one of the best entrances in college football.
I really have no idea how to pick this one just because
it's going to be every G6 team. We're not going to know what any of these G6 teams are until like
that's why I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Eastern just because they have so much back. This is an experienced team. They are familiar. They're at home. 10's a lot, I know.
10's a lot.
I've picked a lot of favorites here so far, but FCS team, I'll go Eastern Michigan. I don't feel great about it. All right, next game here. Hawaii at Stanford, 7:00 Eastern, ACC Network.
I had to do a double take seeing the ACC Network there, Chris. Hawaii Stanford on ACC Network is a real what are we doing here moment. It's like, even though we know Hawaii Stanford on ACC Network, that photo is college football in 2026, really.
Stanford, a 4-point favorite, but Hawaii won this game last year on a walk-off field goal. Hawaii's got quarterback Mika Alahado back. Really liked him last year. Can he stay healthy? Looked like he was going to die every other week he was out there. Stanford is starting quarterback Davis Warren. Stanford could really use some momentum here. It's been a rough couple of years. Had an interim coach last year in Frank Reich. Hawaii's back on track. They won 9 games last year under Timmy Chang. Got to replace some pieces like all G6 teams do. But year 5, I think, for Timmy Chang now. While at Stanford, new head coach Tavita Pritchard, year 1. Now, Tavita Pritchard, former quarterback at Stanford, longtime assistant coach, spent the last couple of years coaching quarterbacks in the NFL with Jaden Daniels, who I don't know if we're allowed to mention his name on the show, if we have permission to. But what do you think?
Stanford trying to figure it out. Don't love the personnel. They're in a weird spot. 3 head coaches in 3 years is tough. Meanwhile, Timmy Chang has finally gotten it cooking at Hawaii. The hashtag Brotherhood, that's one of the better hashtags in college football. Also, it's so good. Hawaii upset alert here. I think they do it again. I think Stanford, I kind of like, we talked about them on the ACC show. I think big picture, they've got the right pieces to make this work. It takes money to do it. It takes some investment to do it. You got to have long-term planning. I don't know what the roster is there. I mean, I was talking to an agent at some point this offseason. We were talking about just the lack of money that Stanford has. And your Stanford, you got 2 quarterbacks. They know what's going on. And the agent basically put it like their quarterback is Davis Warren. That tells you about the state of Stanford's financial situation on the football field. So I think it's going to take a little bit to get some excitement. But Hawaii has figured these things out. I think Hawaii gets the win.
Mika Ford, a running back at Stanford, a player to watch. He's a bright spot. They have an experienced offensive line. The defense has experience as well, but they were really up and down last year. Linebacker Matt Rose was second team all ACC. But I want to see if Stanford can put together anything on offense. They have not been top 100 in offense for the last 5 years. It's been rough. I'm kind of surprised the line is what it is. I mean, 3 points for a home game. It's otherwise, I guess, a toss-up. It was a close game last year, but Hawaii, I think, kind of figured it out as the year went on and got its quarterback set. I'm going to go Hawaii straight up as well, but I have a feeling you and I are both being suckered into.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, has Stanford played a fun game since the 23 Colorado game? It just feels like watching them as
they beat that walk-off win against Louisville a couple years ago. Crazy finish. But yeah, they're not fun. And by the way, like, we may be totally wrong. Like, we know nothing about most of these teams right now. So like,
the G6 is tough.
It's going to take several weeks before we have an understanding and a real sense of the teams and what they can do. Week 0 is just, it really is a bit of a crapshoot here. So next game, New Mexico State at Florida State, 7:00 Eastern on the CW. Florida State is a 30.5-point favorite. Florida State starting former Auburn and Stanford quarterback Ashton Daniels. I think my biggest question is, what does this new offense look like with Mike Norvell calling the plays? Gus Malzahn is gone. Really need a win. Really need a big win because the vibes have just been pretty brutal around there.
Are they a top 5 bad vibes team coming into the season?
Yes.
Like
definitely.
UNC is probably number 1 with a bullet there.
I might put Florida. I think I'll put Florida State number 1. Like Florida State has expectations. North Carolina barely cares about football. Florida State,
maybe
this is their livelihood.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, again, 30 is a lot. That requires a level of competency and sharpness in week 1. Are they looking ahead to SMU? That's a huge game for Florida State. That could be a tone setter to be like, y'all didn't take it seriously. We just beat SMU at home. Like you can really
get that one next
reset
week.
an entire season with a win. Some of us on this podcast will be at that game, Chris. So we'll see. I'll be watching it. I'm going to take New Mexico State to keep this close because I'm just not a believer in Florida State. I think the investment, we'll have to see what that looks like, both financially and emotionally. Can you stay focused? Do you care about this game? Does this game get your blood pumping? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll know pretty quickly.
Me or the players?
Not you, Florida State.
Okay.
Yeah,
gets my blood pumping.
I don't know if it gets your blood pumping, Chris, but I'm going to go with New Mexico State to keep this close. I think it's probably like a, 41 20 situation, maybe
20. That's a lot. So New Mexico State starting quarterback Trey Hedden comes from Furman. Got some interesting piece. I talked to Tony Sanchez at Media Day. They like James Jones, the running back from Delaware State. They got a tight end from Western Carolina they like, but it's just a completely new team again, because that's what the case is. Like New Mexico State's quarterback last year is going to start for Vanderbilt at least week 1, as was announced this week. So it's just a complete reset of a team. I'll go Florida State for that reason. Yes, there's new pieces, but the talent level is obviously what it is. New Mexico State has been kind of lower level group of 6 teams. I don't look, man, 30 points against 2 teams we haven't seen. I don't know. I'm going to go with that for what it is. And the last one, Memphis at UNLV.
I'm excited about this game. You can watch it with us. 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Eastern on Fox, and also 10 p.m. on the Bunch Formation YouTube channel to watch it with us. UNLV, a 4.5-point favorite. Neither team has announced its starting quarterback because apparently we're still doing that in 2026. UNLV is probably going to use both Jackson Arnold, formerly of Auburn and Oklahoma, and Alex Orji, formerly of Michigan, who is entering his second year there. Will one of those 2 guys emerge? We will see. UNLV running back Jaden Thomas, really good player. My top offensive player in the Mountain West, player to watch. Memphis has a quarterback battle between Aaron Noland, former Ohio State, South Carolina guy, and West Florida transfer Marcus Stokes. Both teams, though, are outside the top 100 in returning production. These are 2 very new teams once again. It's really don't know what to expect from either of them. But, David, what do you think?
Give me UNLV here. I like whatever continuity you can have. I don't know how UNLV held on to Jaden Thomas, honestly. But whatever continuity you got in the G6 especially, it's a problem at the P4. It's epidemic at the G6 level. I think in week 1, that really pays off for you. UNLV knows who they are when the game comes down to it, makes enough plays to win and get the cover here.
Remember week 0 last year, UNLV, Idaho State?
Wild game. I was watching it on my phone because it was like
it was on the Mountain West app.
Yeah. But it was like UNLV could not get a stop. Nobody realized that UNLV had quietly put together Last Chance U. It was like a who's who of random players who'd been dismissed to like 3 other schools. That was kind of one of the more fun games of week 0 last year. I had just moved to Charlotte, and I was trying to find places to watch the game because we were stuck in an 1,100 square foot Airbnb while we waited for our house to be finished getting built. And it was an adventure, to say the least. But watching that game on my phone on the Mountain West was not how that game was meant to be viewed.
But
it was not.
Yeah, we didn't think very much of them. But UNLV, turns out they go reach the Mountain West Championship game, and Anthony Calandra is the Mountain West Player of the Year. or offensive player of the year, maybe. So Dan Mullen did a good job last year. I'm going to go with UNLV to win and cover as well, just because it's home, just because I trust more that UNLV will be able to put up points here. Charles Huff, I think, will do a really good job at Memphis. I think that's a great hire. I think they're going to do big things there. I think this is a very tough game to open up with at what is, I think, going to be a very good G6 team. Some are picking them to make the playoffs. Some of them are picking them to win the Mountain West. Very interesting game. This is probably the third most interesting game of the week, and it's in some cases maybe the second. So I'm really interested in that. So that's the picks. 8 games down. I'm excited for all these. Join us on Saturday night.
Sitting down to watch football again. I probably won't have the chicken and waffle sandwich to start today. I'm probably going to go sausage breakfast crunch wrap to kick things off. Have some snacks going. I'll be in my living room. I'm excited.
Every window has a good game. Like we'll all watch North Carolina TCU together, but that takes us into NC State, Virginia. While that's going on, Jack State, North Dakota State starts, Sac State Eastern a little bit later. That takes us all into Hawaii, Stanford. We'll all watch that. And that takes us in also New Mexico State, Florida State, but it may not be very good. And then that takes us into Memphis UNLV. Like there's a good game in every window. I'm excited, man. College actual football. We don't have to talk about these lawsuits. Don't have to talk about all the crap. We just get to sit down and enjoy it. Every Saturday for the rest of the year has football. We made it, people. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. But before we sign off, we have to end the show the way we always do, and that is by remembering some guys.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes.
I'm going to go with former TCU quarterback Max Duggan. He was the Heisman runner-up in 2023. Still been playing football, played in the CFL this year a little bit, got released when I was over at TCU. The sense was he's probably done with football now and figuring out what's next, might get into coaching or something like that. But that TCU team that made a run to the national championship was just wild. Like
still so unbelievable.
So many games they pulled out, so many comebacks. I went to like 5 or 6 games that year. The
fire drill field goal against Baylor. I'll never forget
the fire drill field against Baylor. In every single game, Max Duggan was looking like Nikola Jokic, was just bloody elbows every game. They lose the Big 12 championship game to Kansas State. I covered that. I asked him a question after the game that caused him to cry.
That was you?
That was me. That clip goes around on TikTok all the
that.
time. Yeah, because he came in with his eyes just red, like he had clearly been crying. Because remember, they lose in overtime.
Yeah,
they're worried they might not make the playoff.
Consensus was like when they lost, it didn't seem like
everybody said they should still be in. Like we all 14 playoff. Everyone's like they should still be in because they were undefeated.
I think. Yeah, they were 12-0 going in that game.
Going into that game. But they were worried, and Max Duggan was just had been crying, feeling he let the team down. I think it might have been I asked maybe the first question or something, and it caused him to kind of tear up again. And that clip talking about his teammates and his friends, and that clip always goes around. It pops up on TikTok or whatever. But beat Michigan in the semifinal. For all the crap everybody wants to talk about the way the Georgia game went, including Nick Saban for some reason, TCU earned its way to that game. Like they weren't just placed in the national championship. They beat Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl to go.
That game was insane.
To be there. Yeah, that game was awesome. That whole TCU team was fun. Max Duggan, classic, just college football dude, man. Heisman runner-up, got the team in the championship game. Those are the kind of players and stories we love about college football. That's my guy I'm remembering.
Chris, you're gonna hate me because I'm gonna remember 3 guys here. But I had Casey Pahal. I was thinking about him, and I ended up not. And then I was gonna do Mike Wright, week 0 hero, who at Vanderbilt ran for like 800 yards in a game against Hawaii. But I did want to remember Ray Maualuga, Chris, because people always talk about those your USC teams. The offense gets all the headline. Lendale White, Reggie Bush, Dwayne Jarrett was on those teams, I think, right?
Stop listing guys.
Yes. Matt Leinart, all that. Anyway, but Ray Maualuga, just a big hulking linebacker. Turned out he was maybe a little too slow in the Texas game. Like the speed in the second level kind of caught up to them in some of those games, but a great player. Loved watching him. And I was reminded because I flipped on the Vince Young documentary last night, Chris. You have not watched it yet. Is that right? I
have not watched it yet. I do need to get to it.
Yeah, it's good. The Untold documentaries have kind of been all over the place. Like the Florida football one was really disappointing. The Johnny football one, it had its flaws, but it was like compelling. I enjoyed watching it. But the Vince Young one I really liked. For one, I think you got a really raw, honest version of Vince Young grappling with some of the mistakes that have impacted his life in a lot of different ways. And also, like, I learned something because I didn't really pay attention to what happened in Nashville. Like, he was the rookie of the year, and then all of a sudden he like never did anything again. That's really rare. That's not a career arc we see very often. And like you saw like the partying photos and stuff, but I didn't really know a lot about like what happened. So I learned a lot about kind of what happened in Nashville and how that led to some of his troubles. And it's been good to see him kind of come back. And I think it's the value of college football in a lot of ways. People joke about like, a 40-year decision, not a 4-year decision. But I think Vince Young's lived that out, a guy that will always have a place in Austin, will always have a place, that play in the national championship game is that I'm trying to think, like you got the Flutie Hail Mary, you got the Boise State Statue of Liberty. Like that's probably one of the 5 most iconic plays in the history of the sport.
It's probably the greatest game in the history of the sport.
It's definitely probably, I think I would vote for it as the greatest game in the history of the sport. I did remember Reggie Bush's failed pitch. I totally forgot that Vince Young had a successful pitch to Selvin Young in that national championship game for a touchdown. I didn't remember that at all. But I distinctly remember watching that game on Christmas break. I think it was my sophomore year of college. But Ray Maualuga, I remember you and many other guys in this segment. But the Vince Young documentary,
you didn't remember very fondly here. You basically remembered him for being too slow, and the rest of this was about Vince Young.
Huge and scary over the middle. That continued into the NFL with the Bengals. I really liked him. He was a really fun player to watch.
Okay.
I had forgotten about him, and the documentary reminded me that he existed. And so, Ray Maualuga, we remember you as well as Vince Young, Selvin Young, Reggie Bush.
No, we got it. So I've long had a take. I've had a take for a while that USC Texas is the last mythical sports game that like is in the pantheon of like a game that feels like almost like it wasn't real, like that it was on another plane. And there's a couple of reasons. One, that was right as HD was like starting.
Yeah.
Right before we had a million camera angles of every game and we could see everything. Part of what makes old sports games and highlights mythical is you kind of only have the one camera view, or you just have the one highlight you always see. And USC Texas was like that. I remember before the game, they said, by the way, tomorrow the game will be available to download on iTunes. I was like, what? What does this even mean? And like that was right when things started to change, and it was right before social media. So all we really knew about these players and these teams were kind of what the media told us and what they told us on the broadcast. Nowadays, we know everything about everybody. We see every different camera angle. Everybody's got their phone of a different angle of something that happened in the crowd.
That's actually addressed in the documentary, Chris, of that like Vince Young's off the field stuff. Like players didn't have the sense of like, don't go to like a strip club and get hammered and do weird stuff with like strippers because that's gonna go and show up on TMZ. That's not where I was going,
but okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like in general, like the idea that like there was a voyeuristic view of athletes off the field was not a thing. Like
correct,
when he entered the league, and then it became a thing.
I don't mean
before he knew to account for it.
I don't mean it's the last great game or the last classic game or the last amazing game. I just mean it's the last mythical
myth
game.
Making.
Where like myth making. This
is a good take. I want to push back on this, but I don't know. I think.
I developed it.
The 98 finals, Chris.
Yep.
Feels like
that's
one
up
of
there.
Those.
Yeah. I say that I formed this take during COVID because that was when ESPN just started showing old classic games and we all like sat down and watched them together. That was one of the games that they showed. And that was where I was like, oh, like games don't feel like this anymore. It feels because every game feels the same. Every game's in.
What about the Oklahoma Boise Fiesta Bowl? That's the best counterpoint I have. That was like 2 years later.
It's up there, but that was a game. I rewatched that game like a week or two ago.
It has like 6 moments in it that I will never forget. That might be the highest number of unforgettable moments in a single game.
That's more the moments than the game. Like how many people remember that Boise was up like 14-0 off the bat and led the whole game? Like,
I remember turning that game on and thinking. I remember turning that game on and thinking, well, is Adrian Peterson going to have 400 or 500 rushing yards in this game? And then it was very quickly like, oh, no, this is a football game.
Yeah.
There was no hype in that game coming in. It was largely a joke. And then
I derailed that one, but whatever. Nominee from listener Jay Mayhall, Cameron Artis-Payne, former Auburn running back. Jay says, I think he gets forgotten being sandwiched between Trey Mason and Kerryon Johnson, but he was such an awesome player. He was a rotational back with Trey Mason in 2013 when Gus started and just blew up in 2014. It was his backfield. I think he had something like 1,500 yards on the ground. It was just another electric, reliable Auburn running back. That's a great call. One of those guys.
That Auburn running back run was unbelievable. Yes, great pull. Great pull.
Absolutely.
And I do think it's a huge testament to college coaches when they have players. And even like when you have a run of guys at a position and none of them make a huge impact at the NFL, it's like y'all scouting, usage, scheme, like y'all are cooking some stuff up. Gus at Auburn, that running back run, like Kerryon Johnson had like a cup of coffee. He had a nice little run with the Lions for like a couple of years maybe. But Trey Mason, I have no NFL memories. Cam Artis-Payne was with Carolina for a little bit. He didn't really do much in the league. Like that's good pull. That's a good one.
Great pull. So Max Duggan, Ray Malaga, Cameron Artis-Payne, we remember you. And that's going to end this show, which once again went a little bit too long. But that's okay, because we have actual football. The next time we talk to you guys, real football will have been played. Join us on the YouTube channel Saturday night to talk about it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get us to 900. We're almost there. Tell your friends about the show. And if we don't talk to you on Saturday night, we will talk to you guys on Monday as we recap week 0 and talk about a couple other things. So for David Ubben, I'm Chris Vannini. Thank you for listening and watching Bunch Formation. We will talk to you on Saturday night.
And even if you're in week 0 watching your rival play New Mexico State, bring back the turnover chain.